But the only thing I could come up with, like, on the spot was like, yeah, my glove got stuck. You know what happens?
Yeah. It was a fist pump.
What do you know? You guys play hockey? Duh. Like.
Ice is ready, and we are back with another episode of the Empty Netters podcast brought to you by BetMGM. And we have an unbelievable guest for you today. And I got to tell you, Chris and I got out of the car, headed in to do.
This is true story.
Got out of the car, headed in to do this interview, headed in to talk to this man. And I said, I don't think I've really processed how excited I am for this episode. Andrew Ference joins the pod, and we love everybody. We really do.
Yep.
This community is unreal. I don't think you guys are prepared for how wonderful of a person Andrew Ference is.
And I'll say this, Dan, he even exceeded my expectations in this interview just with how willing and open and personable he was. Because how often do we say, we obviously do our research, we have a lot of questions we want to ask, but I can only get out of them the things I know to ask about. It takes the guest to go above and beyond and tell additional stories on top of what we're scratching the surface of. He did that tenfold. He
just had such an amazing habit. He's so polite. The amount of times he said, hey, can I tell you a story? And I'm like, buddy,
please
tell me every story.
This is the exact platform for such a thing.
He's just such an unreal guy. He's doing such great things with the game. Being able to tell stories about Mario and Jagr, about Jerome McGinley, about Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara, to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. What an insane career. I don't want to spoil anything more. I want you all to just enjoy
When he didn't bird the camera, telling the story you all know that is coming, it made me not bird the camera, and then neither did you.
If that's not Canadian kindness, I don't know what
That's gotta be it, dude.
We don't want to waste any more time. Get into it right now and enjoy this interview with Andrew Ference.
We are very excited to be joined today by an Edmonton, Alberta native, the 208th overall pick in the 1997 NHL draft of the Pittsburgh Penguins, who also played for the Calgary Flames, the Boston Bruins, and the Edmonton Oilers, a World Junior silver medalist, a 2011 Stanley Cup champion, and a man who I have to say believes in doing what's right for the game and the world around us. Andrew Ference, welcome to the Empty Netters podcast.
Fellas, it's an honor. There's not even 208 picks anymore, but
I know, not even 8 rounds.
I love it. There's not that many rounds anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's like makes it even cooler. It's a more unique club, dude. Like there's no more 208th overall picks. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a good fact to have. Dude, I gotta ask. It's like January 13th. Do you have any New Year's resolutions that have fallen off yet, or are you cooking still?
I don't really feel the need for them. I live a pretty healthy life. I got to be honest.
Well done.
That's such a flex.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, like I guess there's little things here and there that I want to keep up with. But I got a kid in college. I got one in grade 10. I'm just trying to pay tuition and live healthy and live long enough so that I could play with grandkids eventually. My goals in life are fairly, fairly basic.
Yeah, the tuition checks to keep clearing. That's the resolutions. Yeah, that works.
It's a good one to have.
Much.
And I mean, not to mention, you said like you live a pretty healthy lifestyle. You are in that category of guys. Whenever we see you popping up on TV doing different things, I'm like, you look like you could still play. It's ridiculous.
Well, I still play a lot. I live out on Vancouver Island, so I moved out here a few years back. For my daughter, my oldest daughter plays rugby, so she came out to the West Coast. She wanted to play more rugby. Edmonton's not exactly the hub of rugby, so we left Edmonton for her to come to the private school out here. She immersed herself into the school and rugby culture. She's off at college now, but I followed her out to the island and started helping coach at the high school. So I'm at Shawnigan Lake School out here on the island. I coach U15 boys. I help with the girls program. I'm on the ice like 4 or 5 times a week, probably.
Let's go.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Still buzzing around.
It's like 10 degrees yesterday, man. I was out biking. It's beautiful out here.
God, that's so nice.
That's incredible.
Jesus, what a
beauty.
beauty.
That's awesome.
Well, we mentioned that, elusive 200-plus draft earlier, and getting into that day when you were drafted, you were playing in the WHL for the Portland Winterhawks, one of the great names of all time. And you have a couple great years. You made an all-star game. But then during the draft, Central Scouting doesn't have you ranked, so you can't go to the combine. You can't prove all those things. And you have said that you felt that was one of your biggest strengths of your game. So first of all, is it true that you wrote a letter to all of the GMs in the league with all of your own combine stats that you did yourself?
Oh yeah, I got it downstairs. I could run down and get it right now if you want.
That is
I'm
is
sure you guys will
awesome.
call me. But yeah, no, I had a good junior career. But I was 5'10" defenseman. Back in the day, like that was the late '90s. Guys were huge, so there wasn't too many of us below 6 foot. But I had a great junior career. We had great teams. Like Portland was amazing. When I came in there, Richard Zednick. He was just like lighting it up, and then obviously we won a Memorial Cup in Portland with Marion Hossa, Brendan Morrow, myself, like a few guys, made the NHL, long careers in the NHL. So great career, and that was so frustrating. I remember Central Scouting and like the lists come out, and you can't help but like be totally invested in it, right? Like you're going down and checking to see if you're on there or not. And no word of a lie, there was one guy in particular, I can't even remember his name, but he was a nice guy, like nothing against him, but Central Scouting had him like ranked, I don't know, like 4th or 5th round. He got cut from our junior team. Like he didn't make Portland. And I was like starting in Portland and like going to the All-Star game. And I was like, what? I was like, but he was like 6'3", right? So I was like, So it's so frustrating. That was like the early days of the combine too, where, guys would get brought in to do the bench press and VO2 and sprinting and all that kind of stuff. And to your point, like I'm not a skilled player. Like I had never had good hands or toe drag or anything like that, but I knew how to work.
Yeah.
And so, my fitness tests were always really good. That was obviously something I needed and continue to need through my whole career. And so it was at a big disadvantage not going to something like a combine where it's just raw numbers. It's not skill based. It's just work. There was frustration. I had an agent at the time, and between the two of us, we're like, well, F it. Like, let's just go do our own testing. So I went to the U of A. I was living in Edmonton at the time. Went to the University of Alberta, basically like paid to do my own testing, like all the exact same tests that they did at the combine, got my results, and then faxed everybody because back then, there was not even email. Like we didn't have email. So I was faxing guys. And so that's what I have downstairs is I have I have the actual fax that I sent to Craig Patrick of the Penguins, who eventually drafted me, but the exact same fax went to every other GM in the league. And so it was my results from the testing. And then just a little note like, "Dear sir, my name's Andrew Ference.
To whom it may concern." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I played for the Port Winterhawks. I'm currently not, ranked in Central Scouting, therefore can't do my combine. But here's my numbers anyways. And I guarantee you, something like if you pick me, I'll, have an incredible career or whatever, something like that. Yeah. It was very, very, it took some audacity. So, but yeah, I mean, I get a combination of that. So Craig Patrick told me after, like, hey, that took some balls, kid. And also I had an incredible junior coach, Brent Peterson, who eventually went to Nashville Predators. He was probably my favorite coach of hockey that I've ever had. And Brent went to bat for me. I know that he called people on my behalf and said, like, look, it's the 8th round. Like, who else are you going to pick? Yeah. Like, just pick this kid. Take a chance. So, I wouldn't say it was all, those faxes that made the difference, but a combination for sure.
Was there a notary or something with the fax? Or because like in my mind, you could just be like, did 70 reps on the bench, have a 55-inch vertical. Was there someone confirming these numbers, or they were just taking your word for it?
Just a monster. No, it was the U of A. So it was like on the University of Alberta, and like they do like the printout because they were, I think, one of the facilities that's hired. If the Oilers, when we go to Oilers training camp, like the U of A people come and do the testing for the Oilers. Right? Yeah. So it was like legit, but I probably would have like hit a wall at some point, like go to training camp, and they're like, you're not 6 foot.
It's a handwritten fax. It's just like, hey, here's all my stats.
Yeah.
Did any of the GMs respond, or were you just kind of sitting out there floundering, hoping someone noticed you? Wow.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
God.
I didn't get anything back, so I didn't go to the draft. Obviously, I was sitting at home and got a phone call and just was like ecstatic. And Pittsburgh too. I mean, I was probably 12 years old. I have this picture from Christmas morning, And I'm just so excited. I was the happiest kid in the world because I got a Pittsburgh Penguins like hoodie, sweatpants, and a Mario Lemieux like jersey, right? And so I was just like stoked because I love the Penguins because Paul Coffey got traded from the Oilers to the Penguins, and I followed him, and then the Penguins are amazing. So I went quickly from being a pretty ecstatic kid, loving the Penguins, this and that, getting drafted, and then I was sitting across from Mario in the room because that's when he came back, right? Like my first year was '99. He was all of a sudden like the owner of the team and coming back from cancer, and it was insane. Like my entry into the league was insane. Jaromir Jagr, Kovalev, my partner was Yuri Schleger. We had Marty Straka, like insane teams. And then like the first year I really kind of got traction with the Penguins. We had I think probably in history of the NHL, the only NHL coach that didn't speak English, which Ivan Holinka. So like I don't know how that story gets lost sometimes, like how it's not told more often, but like
Agreed.
We had an NHL coach that didn't speak English at all. Like
what was that like? What happened on the bench? Because keep going on this because our next question was literally your intro to the Penguins.
Well, I was going to say you certainly made yourself known once you did get drafted and showed up there, because we've heard a story that you show up to camp and immediately day one fought the first round pick. So.
Yeah, of course, as one does. I was a Western League player.
As one does.
Well,
Who was it?
The
Do you
other
remember?
part of that story is Kevin Constantine was the coach, and I showed up on a Harley, and so, and luckily enough, Constantine drove Harleys. Like we're both motorbike guys.
Huge.
Yeah, so I roll into the parking lot on a Harley, and then immediately jumped into like camp. And fought the first rounder on day one in inter squad games, and then probably had a couple more fights, and then just ran around like a madman, doing everything. So I didn't make the team the first year, but the second year I did. So I mean, it was you make a first impression. And that's another coach of mine in junior, Harold Schneps. He was great mustache, but also some pretty good career advice, and that was his advice. He's like, you're an 8th round pick kid. Like you got to do something. Like you got your foot's in the door. Like you have to stand out. You got to do something.
Yeah. Was that a heat of the moment thing, or when you got that advice where you're like, I'm gonna fight the first round pick? Like, did you know going in you were gonna do exactly that?
Well, I didn't know who it was going to be, but it was going to be somebody.
Someone was going. It's going to be Mario, a cancer survivor. Ference beats the wheels off a cancer survivor day one again.
No, I knew it wasn't going to be him. I think the second year I fought Barnaby as well, like early in camp.
God, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. But it was like that's how. I mean, you got like fitness. We had fitness testing as day one, right, of any camp, and back then it was like. It was almost comical in Pittsburgh because it was probably a little bit more lackadaisical than most teams. But I remember we partnered up, and so I think my partner was Darius Kasparidis, and we had to like record each other's scores. So there wasn't even like a proper like fitness testing. So I think Kaspar's like, I did 100 sit-ups.
Like, between cigarettes,
100. Yeah. But it was those camps were crazy. But like you said, like if you're a late round pick, what do you got? Like a few days, really a camp until you get sent down. Like if you got an exhibition game, like you're ecstatic. So you got a couple days to leave a mark. So you blow it out in fitness testing and be an animal there and try to catch somebody's eye. And then, if you get an inter squad game, like you better do something. Like you got to run around, hit everything, like at least make them look at their sheet and be like, who's that? Like, who's the idiot?
Number 65?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Who's the guy that just took off his skate and tried to kill someone? But wait, no, Ference, I now need to know, where did you ride that Harley from? Like, you didn't ride from Edmonton to Pittsburgh on a Harley, did you?
Yeah, I did the cross country a couple times, but
You're shitting me, really?
Oh, for real? Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
That is unbelievable.
I can't even process that. That's wait, is that like one of the greatest rides of all time?
I've ridden that Harley everywhere. Like I don't have it anymore. I sold it, but man, I did across the country probably 4 or 5 times, and then from north to south a few times. Like I rode everywhere.
Unbelievable.
You know what? On the way to camp though, I would have put it in the back of the truck on the way to camp. but I rode it back all the way. Yeah.
Wild. I don't even think the boys are allowed to ride motorcycles now.
F-150.
So true. Yeah, right. Now that's the upgrade.
Yeah, there you go.
But fair. Keep going about just that Pittsburgh run. With first of all having a coach that can't speak English. What was that like on the bench? And then second of all, being such a young kid, and you guys had a pretty good run. I want to say your second year, all the way to the conference finals, and like you were getting some serious burn in the playoffs there. So like, what was all that like too?
Yeah, well, it was crazy. Like I said, so first year go to camp, just try to make a name for myself, and did, like, played well, and do the fight and everything like that. I can't remember if I got an exhibition game, but I think I did. Get sent back to junior, do the junior year, and that's all good. But then the next year, I remember fighting Barnaby in camp, good fight, getting games, and then starting the year up. So I didn't go to the minors. I started the year up. Constantine was the coach. He told me, actually, so
through a translator.
Sorry. So Constantine was good. He was an English guy. He spoke English. So we go for a bike ride. He's like, let's go for a ride. It was at the end of camp. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm either getting sent down or I'm making the team. So we go for a ride. And he's like, you made the NHL, kid. It was awesome. It was like out of a movie. And I was like, seriously? Oh my God, like losing my mind. I was so excited, right? Like trying to play it cool. But I made the NHL like out of camp. And so I started the year up, and it was nuts. Like all those players on the team. Constantine got fired though. So like partway through the year, I don't know if we were 40 games in, he got fired, and then Herb Brooks was our coach. Yeah. So Herb Brooks got brought in, and like I was like I was not in his good book. So so I ended up getting sent down to the minors. I don't know if I was up with him maybe for a few weeks, but I got enough for a couple crazy Herb Brooks stories.
What was that like?
Do you want me to just tell you one?
Oh my God, yes.
Please tell us some of those.
I mean, he was like, obviously you get a movie made about you. Like he's got all the accolades, right? But the funniest story from Herb Brooks was Ian Moran. He was, awesome locker room guy, like probably one of the most liked guys in the room. Just had a baby, like had a young family. And so Ian Moran comes in one day, and he was a pretty stylish guy, right? Like he liked to be a little bit edgy. So he comes in one day with frosted tips. He's got like the nice haircut, right? Like looking all cool.
Babes, we have teamed up with BetMGM for the entire season because we've got to get all the action we can. And there is no better online sports book than BetMGM. They've got every single sport. They've got all the fun props. They've even got an empty net prop for us during the NHL season. How fun is that? Here's the thing. We're in the middle of NFL playoffs. We got Champions League football coming back here. We've got hockey. We've got basketball. Whatever you want, you can bet on it. You can find the best parlays in the game. We're always doing that. If you want to sign up for BetMGM right now, you'll be doing yourself the biggest favor in the world. You sign up with promo code NETTERS, NETTERS, and BetMGM is going to hook you up better than you've ever imagined. You can bet up to $1,500 on anything you want, and if you lose it, you get all of that back into your account. That is unbelievable. That's just $1,500 right back into your account so you can get in on all that action once again. If you're following us, you're seeing all the parlays we're doing. We're playing bingo, all of these fun things. You got to join in on the fun, got to join in on the action, and BetMGM is the best way to do it because they're taking care of you like no one else in the game. So sign up today and let's ride.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
And I remember Herb Brooks like lost his mind. And he's like, kind of went on a rant about like, you're a father now, you're supposed to be father, it's not, you don't have frosted tips or whatever. He was like mad about the frosted tips, right? And he was going to bench Ian. Like, so Ian's not playing now. Ian's a healthy scratch until he does something about his frosted tips. And that was basically the message that he was getting. And the all-time best story is Yuri Schleger came in the next day, bleach blonde hair. He was our best defenseman, right? He's like,
yeah.
It was such a flex.
Yeah, you're going to health bomb me.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Like I was like, man, Yuri Schleger's my favorite player now.
Yeah.
So I like that. Anyways, I didn't have a whole lot of Herb Brooks stories because I got sent down to the minors. Shit, I got a lot of stories from those days. So I get sent down to the minors. Alexei Kovalev comes over. He's like, "Hey, Ference, you're going to the minors, yeah?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like all mad. He's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I fly you." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "No, I'm getting my pilot's license. I need flight time, so I fly you." I was like,
No, dude.
all right. So like Covey drives me to like this private little airfield, and we hop in this like 3-seater equipment. He flies me to Wilkes-Barre with his pilot, with his instructor.
I cannot believe you got in that plane, dude. That
Seriously,
is insane.
I've been like, you're out of your mind, buddy. No chance.
So I got sent to the minors, and Alexei Kovalev flew me in his little plane.
Only person in history who can say that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right? Dude, it was wild. It was like crazy thinking about back in those times, and like, would that happen now? Like, probably not.
I mean, you might be the only guy who's ever flown private down to the minors.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's pretty
Right?
special.
It was a little plane. It was small, but it was a great story. But anyways, so the rest of that year I spent down, and then my second year in the league, Ivan Holinka becomes the coach. So Herb Brooks didn't last long.
Yeah.
Ivan Holinka comes in. We have so many Czech guys. Like half our team was Czech. We have Slovaks. We have everybody, right? And then you have Mario. So Mario's there, like on the team. He's the owner. He's kind of like the coach, right? Like if he wants the lines different, like he's changing lines. And so, Jagr was obviously a massive star, and so we get Ivan Holinka to be the head coach, and he comes in, and I'm lying. He actually did know English. He knew like 3 words. I swear. He said, "Let's go, boys." So he'd come into the room every day. "Let's go, boys." That's it.
Jesus.
And then the neat thing about Holinka was that we'd never had like forward lines and D lines. He made groups of 5.
Whoa.
And so the fourth line kind of got screwed over. Like, they didn't play much, but we had lines of 5. And so really, like, we played with the same forwards almost all year and like every shift. Like you'd go out as a line of 5. So it's pretty cool. Like you got to know each other really well. And we never had systems. Like we had no systems. We essentially played scrimmage and just be creative. And so like Schlegs, like I played with Yuri Schleger a lot, and he would come over and draw stuff on the board. He's like, "I want you doing this. You dive through and then I'll come over and then Jags will see you." And you just kind of made stuff up. Like, some of it was drawn by yourselves, but we didn't have like a team system. Like, and we were playing against some guys in Boston one day, and I saw them, and after pregame skate, they came out into the locker and they're like, "Yeah, we were watching video of you guys," and the coach just gave up after like 5 minutes because he's like, "I have no idea what they're doing." And I was like,
You're like, neither do we. It's
Yeah,
fine.
true.
yeah, I'm like, it's pretty accurate actually. But so we had an insane team, a coach that didn't speak English, and we went all the way to the conference finals. Like we lost to, Brodeur and the Devils.
Yeah, God.
I mean, they were insane. You try to get like 20 shots against them. It was almost impossible.
Yeah.
You had 20 shots and it was Brodeur. So we ran into them. It was kind of a brick wall, but man, what an incredible year. Like Johan Hedberg, the Moose came into the league that year.
Yeah.
We were roommates in some crappy hotel in Pittsburgh, like just because we weren't good enough to like get our own place. So we were like living in like a Holiday Inn, and it was just an amazing entry into the league. And got a ton of ice, like you said. Yeah, luckily there was injuries
awesome.
and stuff like that. And I'll do whatever, right? And so basically, like Jags would be like, "Ference, like, Andy, we're not paying you to like touch the puck. Like you're just supposed to get me the puck as quick as you can." and I'm like,
I'm timing.
Perfect. Yeah. Like I had no ego, right? Like I'm like, I'll go chase it down every time and just pass it to you.
Done.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Does that surreal feeling ever wear off? I mean, it's like such a cool story of battling through, not being on Central Scouting, eventually getting drafted by the team that you loved growing up, and then playing with guys like Jagr and Mario. Were you just buzzing that entire time? Like I can't imagine that unbelievable feeling ever fading away.
The whole time, man, my whole career. Like that's one thing. Like we had a tournament up here at Shawnigan Lake this weekend, and they asked me to speak at it, right? It goes like U18 guys. And so these guys all want to go Div 1, they're all trying to go to NCAA. And Actually, Kevin Bieksa was up here. His son's team was up here, so he was playing, and so we ended up talking about it a lot afterwards. But I said, like, one of the things I told the guys was like, never lose perspective of like how great it is. Like, it's so great, like, to play the game. Like, even if you get like, you go through a dry spell, or you like or have frustrating games, or you're up and down, or whatever it is, right? Like, if you really kind of take a step back, like, God, like, it's so awesome. Like, it's such a if you make the NHL, like, what a job. Like, it's amazing. And that was always something I was really proud of. Like, even in my last years, like, we had some frustrating years in Edmonton. Like, our teams were pretty terrible, but like, I don't know, I'd still walk into the rink and be like, Jesus, like, this is so cool. Like, like, even when you get like the swag, like, you get like something in your locker, it's like an Oilers hoodie. I'm like, God, like kid Andrew is so stoked.
Yeah, he's freaking out right now. Yeah.
Dude, I love that so much. It's the best attitude to have. And you had some amazing stops, like Chris said. After the Penguins, you get traded to the Flames. And there's a couple things that I really want to hear about. One, was there any bit of you that felt like, oh shit, here I am playing for my, like, you grew up in Edmonton, now you're playing for the Flames, but then you also get there after playing with Mario and Jagr, and now you're playing with another Hall of Famer in Iginla. What was that whole transition like? Was getting traded crazy? Were you bummed? Were you excited? Combination of both? What was your time in Alberta like?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few answers within that. Like, no, like, I just want to play in the NHL. I play for anybody. And I grew up like as an Oilers fan. Like, I went to the games, and I saw them win a cup, and I actually grew up. One of my neighbors was Peter Klima.
No way.
He had played tennis with my dad, and it was my job. Like, and I would like mow his lawn like in the summertime when he went back home.
That's such an Edmonton thing.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
And so he took me into the locker room. Like, I got old sticks. I got like Messier's old sticks, and Charlie Huddy and Steve Smith. Like, because Klima would take me into the locker room and like do all that stuff with me, right? And like,
God, that's sick.
That was like the payment for like taking care of his house when he was gone. Yeah. So like, yes, I grew up an Oilers fan, and it was cool, and I was kind of around that. But I also wasn't like a diehard hockey fan. Like, I enjoyed it and I watched it and this and that, but like, I wasn't like loyal to the Oilers, or I was just like a hockey fan.
Yeah.
So like, going to the Flames, there was no real anything. Like, if anything, it was like my friends and family that were like, yeah, we're not going to cheer for you.
They were pissed.
It was more of them than me. But yeah, getting traded's wild. You just kind of, I think it's weirder when you look back on it, like in hindsight. Like, when you're living it, it's just part of the deal, right? Like, you see other guys, and same thing, like, you get up and down from the minors, so you're already kind of like, you're already kind of I don't know, your luggage is always packed. You're always just kind of waiting to like be on the move. So you're on road trips. Oh, you're getting sent down to the minors. Oh, you're not. You're coming back up. So you're never really settled, right? Like, so at that time in my life, like, it's like, oh, you're getting traded. It's like, all right, sweet. Okay. Like, when do I leave? Like, pack up the stuff. Like, all right, I guess I'm going to Calgary.
Hop on the Harley, drive up to Canada.
Get Kobe to take the plane out again.
Yeah, truly.
I need another ride, dude.
Yeah, right. That was a little far. I don't think his went that far. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was like Pittsburgh was we were kind of crappy that year. Yogs, I think, got traded to Washington. So they're kind of dismantling that team a bit and going through a bit of a rebuild. So I was just one of the many trades that they made that year. So I went to Calgary. The craziest thing about Calgary was hopping in, and then when Daryl Sutter was coach, right? Like,
wow.
Coming in, and now I'm like, oh, like, the Sutters obviously carry a lot of weight in Alberta and are a bit legendary. And part of that legend is Daryl in those years, right? Like, of coaching and what he demanded of us, and the type of environment that he created. So I went from Pittsburgh, which was, coach doesn't speak English, we basically play scrimmage hockey and just like do the thing, to like Sutter, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, like, now I have to be a professional. So that was like probably the best thing for my career, as far as like going under him, coming in every day and like literally not being able to take a shift off. Like, if you took a shift off, you were hearing about it.
Wow.
Daryl was probably the most demanding coach I ever had incredibly honest. Sometimes it hurt a lot, I hate to hear what he had to say, but as far as advancing my career and making me a professional, like, he was insane. And then obviously, like, your captain's Jerome. He's setting the bar pretty high for work ethic and what it takes to, to battle and compete and practice and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I got lucky. You come into a Canadian city, we had like I said, personally an incredible coach, but for the group of guys, an incredible coach who just got every little bit out of every single guy, and it took us to the final against Tampa.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, second year, man. You guys, bit of a wagon with Jerome as captain, like you said. And man, for whatever reason, when I was younger watching the game, Iggy was my favorite forward in the league, and I was obsessed with that team. So you guys go on that run, get to Tampa. You're up 3-2 in Game 6 at home. Marty scores a double OT goal. What was that final like? Where I mean, felt like a collision course of two teams destined for the cup that season.
Yeah, well, it was actually kind of crazy. Like, Kiprusoff was out of his mind.
Oh my God, man. It was unreal.
Yeah, like, as much as we were like a bunch of kind of lunch pail guys, and like, like the players did the thing, and Jelena scored the big goals, and you had Iginla, like, we probably had no business in a lot of games if not for Kiprusoff. Like, that I should go back, because my memory is not good enough to remember the Detroit Red Wings and their lineup that year, but like, they were good.
They were nasty.
Probably doubled up us, doubled up shots on us in a couple of those games, and we snuck out wins because of Kipper. So like, kind of a legend. With it, especially the way that he ran pretty hard off the ice too. So
yeah, I can imagine.
He did Finland proud and us pretty proud too. But yeah, that was it was an unreal ride. I mean, when you're the underdog, it's almost easier. People don't expect a whole lot out of you, so you just kind of like ride this wave. And we really were kind of, I feel like we at least painted ourselves as the underdog through the entire playoffs, and had a complete buy-in, I think, up and down the entire roster of like who we wanted to be and the culture and what we took pride in. And Sutter had, like I said, he never asked anybody to do something that they weren't capable of, but like, man, if you weren't playing at 95% of your potential or above, like, you probably weren't playing. Like, he held us all really accountable. So it was neat. It was pretty cool to be part of that kind of culture, part of, those type of practices where you're going against each other really hard, demanding it of each other. Like I said, that was my first real professional environment.
Totally.
And I tell this story a lot. Like, when I ended up going to Boston, like, that's the first meeting I had with Peter Chiarelli, the GM. He's like, I want that. Whatever you guys did in Calgary, like that culture, like you have to help us build that.
God,
so it was neat.
Fair. When you were in Game 6, like Dan was talking about, what's the feeling like when it's overtime and the cup's in the building?
Yeah,
and you're one win away. Like, are you like, I'm gonna do it, or is it like nervous? Like, how does it feel being in overtime with the cup in the building?
During the game, it's during the game, it's just kind of, it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. Like, sometimes you play a hockey game and you actually don't really have much of a memory for it.
Yeah.
Like, things just happen. Like, you're just kind of doing it, and your mind is kind of blank, for lack of better description. And so I think sometimes even watching video, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. But like, you don't really process the stuff, in game. You just kind of like get into game mode and just play. But I remember, like, there's certain moments within a game where I think Marcus Nielsen hit a post.
God.
And I remember that vividly, like, but more after the fact. I remember it happening and being like, like, you kind of like, one of those moments that like kind of takes your breath away, and you're like, and then in retrospect, like when you're past the game, obviously, and looking back, those are the ones that haunt you, like, after the fact. But the toughest thing, I think, is actually like the night before. It's not really the game, and even game day, like, you get into your routine and you're like, boom, like, it's business, right? And you're kind of so used to playing and getting yourself ready. But trying to sleep, the night before, is like,
Forget about
that was insane. That was really, really tough. I mean, your mind is just spinning. Like, what am I going to do? What's it going to feel like? All the things about like, lifting the cup, seeing the cup. I don't think I even saw the cup in person, like ever in my life. Like, so it's like all those dreams, and it's hard to turn that off, like, and to stop thinking about it and just get your ass to sleep so you can get some rest. So that was the really hard part.
Insane.
Sure.
Well, you mentioned you end up in Boston, and you successfully did bring that culture, and a culture that still exists in that Boston Bruins locker room franchise. And we grew up in Boston, big Beast fans, and that 2011 team brought us so much joy. And I had heard you say that you have, a million stories from those boys, and specifically that Bruins Canadiens rivalry that was really firing during that era. And I am happy to report on the Empty Netters podcast that I, during research, found out for the first time. Oh, and to set the stage, I guess, you guys go down two games to nothing, drop 2 at home to the Habs in the first round, win game 3, and in game 4, we're down 3-1. And you score an awesome slap shot goal, high glove on Price. And I have found out during my research that the gloves you were wearing were brand new gloves. I didn't know that. They were brand new that day, and that's a fact for the listeners.
That's a fact.
And they were very stiff. So that's what happens sometimes with stiff gloves. For the people that don't play, they get stuck in weird positions.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Just find yourself in a strange position.
So can you just tell us about that series, man, and that goal, obviously, and then, of course, because I know not everyone listening will have heard the story of you having to address the media, and then and what happened with the fine after.
Yeah, that one's got like a backstory too, right? Because before that year, like, so 2011 we win, play the Habs, but like before that we had playoff series against them that was wild, regular series games against them that were wild, like just brawls and fights and drama, and like, I mean, both teams were so competitive, right? So yeah, like all the stuff leading up to that game too, like fans throwing stuff at us, like rocking the bus, parking outside the hotel, pulling fire alarms. They had like semi trucks parked around the hotel, like in like 2 a.m, like,
dude, that was really like the golden era of the rivalry between the Habs and the Bruins. Like, you guys went to war.
All of it, all the old school BS of like, just like, really. I used to walk to the rink with Chara too, so we were on the same schedule for game day, so we'd walk from the hotel to the rink, and of course he stands out like a sore thumb, and so like it'd be like on the way there's like a dozen like French guys popping their head out of the cafe like, hey, like whatever, to Chara, like just chirping them and running around the corner. So it's just like, it's funny, like it's part of what you love, because it's like, this is the way it should be. Like, the world is right when there's this kind of rivalry. But it was just like, it was like, you don't even really hate them. Like, it's not the right word. Like, you just want to beat them so bad. Like, you just really want to beat them so bad. We're down, lost both games at home. This was after the year that we lost
3-0
after being up 3-0 to Philly. Yeah.
Brutal.
So we already have a complex, like I said, sometimes it's easier to be the underdog. Like, we were not the underdog, right? Like, we were supposed to, all right, we're keeping you guys together because we believe in you. All right, you lost, you blew a 3-0 lead to Philly the year before, but we're basically keeping the team together. And then you go down 2 at home to Habs, right? So we're feeling it internally. We're hearing about it externally. Of course, all the fans in Montreal are letting us know about it. And so it was just like, ramp up. And then, during that game, like, earlier in that shift, I got rocked probably by like Brian Giunta, I think. Like, so, like, I can't find too many guys smaller than me, but like he was one. And I think he laid me out in the corner, and all the fans pounding on the glass and doing the thing. And I'm getting up, I'm all pissed off, skate up the ice and kind of found, I think, Marchand's like junk or whatever, and just got just hit the puck. I didn't aim or anything. It just happened to go shelf. So when it went in, it's just one of those moments of like, literally like pure, just like elation and like F you. But they were new gloves. That is a true story, but they did not.
That's a fact.
Like, I literally, like, I did like, do the old Tom Cruise, like Top Gun, give him the bird. but I didn't know it was to the camera. It was like CBC. It was like basically perfect.
Dude, it could not be more perfect. You are literally
perfect,
birding
dude.
the camera directly.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And like, obviously talking to you now, it's amazing. But like, as a fan, when we were hearing you being like, my glove got stuck, we were like, okay, dude. Because like, it looks like you find the camera and you go, have at it, boys.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, and then there's backstories and backstories to that one too. So Glenn Healy was one of the color commentators.
Yeah.
The year before, I think he was part of the NHLPA, and I was part of the committee that like did the internal investigation, and we ended up firing guys like from the internal stuff from the PA, and he was one of the guys that left like through that, so he hated me.
Yeah.
So of course he's doing color,
yeah.
and any chance to like dig on me, like I was like, but anyways, I didn't see the clip until after the game, right? So like I scored, boom, we come back. Who scored the OT winner? I think Ryder. Like,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I
think we won an OT that game.
Yeah, 5-4.
Anyways, we come back, boom, tied 2-2, right? Like the series is on. And so we're in the room all jacked, all excited. And then I think it was Claude comes around the corner. He's like, Ference, get in here. And I'm like, walk in there like an idiot. And I think, anyways, there's the brass was in there. And they're showing me the replay on the TV in the coach's room. And they're like, what the hell is this? And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they caught that. Like I was kind of embarrassed. Like obviously, like, I was like, you don't want that on camera. But earlier that year, was it Wisniewski or?
Yeah, it was. It was Wiz, dude. It was.
It was
Yeah.
Wiz,
So he got suspended for, I think, whatever, a hand gesture, to Avery, I think, or something like that. Whatever it was. Anyways, he got suspended, and they're like, so the brass is in there. They're like, dude, you're gonna get suspended. Like, you can't get suspended. Like, you got to get your ass out there and like figure something out. And so, of course, like between end of game and media is like 10 minutes usually.
Yeah.
And so by the time I come out of the room, I'm like, cameras. I'm like,
Right. Pausing the pod real quick to talk to you guys about our friends at Ricky Spirits. They are the best alcoholic canned beverage on the market, and they just got bigger and they just got badder. Because they have a 7% ABV, which is amazing, but they just launched a 24-ounce big boy. It's bigger than our studio. It's unbelievable. And I love Ricky because they've got all kinds of flavor profiles that I love, and they got ones that DP loves. I'm more of a vodka guy. He's more of a tequila guy, right? So they got the limes, they got the cranberries, they got the watermelons. Whatever you like, they've got the spirit for you. It's incredible. We are bringing them everywhere. All the parties we're throwing, watching hockey games, getting ready for playoffs and Four Nations and all the big NHL event calendars coming up. That's Ricky time for us, okay? And since we're in California, it's nice here all the time. I'm out on the golf course all the time. You know my golf bag is stocked with Ricky. Stocked with Ricky. It's incredible. So what I need you to do is go to www.rickyspirits.com and find out all the action that they've got cooking, find the flavors that you love, and follow along at Ricky Spirits on IG so you won't miss any of the action.
like talk about thinking on your feet. I'm like, oh, I was like, okay, like don't get suspended, like priority number one. And so they were new gloves, and I'm like, well, fucking, like my gloves got stuck. Like,
no brainer.
Yeah.
No brainer.
I should have said my finger got broken or something. I should have put like a splint on or something.
That would have been so
that
good,
would have been
dude.
smarter.
Wow.
But the only thing I could come up with, like on the spot, was like, yeah, my glove got stuck. You know what happens?
Yeah.
Duh,
It was a fist
what
pump.
do you know? You guys play hockey? Duh.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was, you know, it wasn't widely accepted as, as a legitimate excuse. So I had a call with the league the next day, stuck to my guns. I was like, my glove got stuck. And they're like, really? Like, that's what you're going with? And I was like, yeah, man. He's like, well, we got $2,500. We got to fine you. Like, I think it was the max. But whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, mission accomplished. Don't get suspended in the playoffs.
Playing game 5.
So yeah, $2,500. It gets announced. I get fined. I live in the north end of Boston, which is Little Italy for those who haven't been there. All the Italians. It is like old school neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody. There's no secrets. And I show up probably 1:30 in the morning after we land from our flight from Montreal. And on the door of my building, like, you know, I have like one of those buzzer buildings where you have to like buzz up to your room, literally taped like in envelopes, money, just money, cash, like in the north end of Boston, taped to the front of my door, like F the Habs, go Ference, like all this stuff. And there must have been a few $100. Like it was like actually like a significant amount, just like hanging out on my door, taped in envelopes. So
Paid his fine.
pretty cool.
That is
cool. It didn't pay off the fine, but it definitely took a chunk
City of
off.
Boston, North End of Boston, stepping up, dude.
You give the bird to a bunch of Habs fans, the city of Boston will take care of you. That is the story here. That is
the
absolutely
North End
beautiful.
is unbeatable, like the best neighborhood ever.
That is so good, man. Well, obviously, you then go on play the Canucks in that insane final in 2011. And we've had a chance to talk to a couple of guys. We had BX on, we've had Luch on, talking about that final and how crazy it was. But what were the emotions for you like, being one of those guys on the team? It was cool to hear Chiarelli kind of brought you in and wanted you to carry over that professional mindset. And then being in that locker room as one of the guys who had semi-recently been in a final. And what did you do for the boys? Like going in that game, you lose a couple heartbreaking games, then kind of pull it together, and you're down going into Game 6. What did you bring to that locker room, and what were the vibes like throughout that entire series for you guys?
It was incredible. I mean, just to get back to a final, but yeah, the journey to get there, like building up that culture, building up that environment. I mean, obviously, just a piece of it, right? Like you got like Chara, who is just incredible, a great leader and great at kind of divvying out responsibilities to other guys in the room as well. And Bergeron, who a lot like Iginla, like just raises the level of practice, right? Like, so everything is like ultra competitive, but in the healthiest way, so we really made each other better. We had a good group. Mark Recchi, obviously, is no shortage of knowledge and kind of wisdom, when it comes to big games. So we had a really solid room of just, guys. And like I said, that environment that we created. And, to end up in a final, it actually felt a lot different than Calgary. Like it felt like we were supposed to be there, and not like we just kind of found our way there because of a hot goalie and, we just kind of, put it together. And maybe it was just the time of my career, but like it felt like we really deserved to be there, and we properly earned it over the years that I was in Boston. But dropping the games and coming home, I guess like perspective of going through it before, and especially being on the flip side, just sticking with it, believing in ourselves. We blew them out at home, so you get that kind of momentum. You go back to Vancouver and drop Game 5, and I think that's where, like, going into Game 6, I think I gave my perspective a lot, to the guys of like how Vancouver would be feeling, because we were in the same position in Calgary, right? Like we had a chance to win in Game 6. Like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, like the sleep and like the mind games and like it's so hard being in the position where you're going to win, and I know like they would have had like a whole flight of family and friends, and all their buddies probably were calling them, talking about how amazing it was. And even if none of that's happening, like even just internally, right? Like your childhood dreams about to come true, and like we are going to like put the cup up in Boston, like this is our time, yada yada, right?
Yep.
So like I think that was helpful. Like we talked about that in the room, just about like, here's what they're going through, guys. Like here's what they're thinking, here's what they're feeling. Like they are human beings. They're not going to sleep tonight. They're going to be thinking about all these things. They're dealing with all the BS of like the wives and girlfriends coming down and doing all that stuff. Like this game is ours, like any kind of like rah, like we have the advantage, like screw these guys. Like we have the advantage. Like, so it was like that kind of stuff of like, I think very realistically, like kind of calling it for what it was, and like really putting ourselves in the position of feeling like, oh no, like we have the upper hand in this game for sure. Like all the pressure's on them. So Game 6 was like that. It obviously played out in our favor really well, and I think because of that, like we're really buoyed by how we played and how we kind of, I think, felt like we mentally defeated them. Like I said, when you don't sleep because you're dreaming about being a cup champ, bringing the cup back to Canada, like finally, like you're going to be the guy, right? Yeah. And then when you don't do it, like, man, like that's like popping a balloon, right? And so same thing, I flew down to Tampa with Calgary, after losing the cup at home in Game 6, and you make that flight down to Tampa for Game 7, and I don't care who you are, like you're not going down there feeling good. Like now it's like, oh, shit, like maybe this isn't happening. Like, I don't care like how mentally strong you are, like the doubt starts to seep in, right?
Definitely.
So I think same thing, like that was the message, like going into game 7, like all the pressure's on them. They're at home.
Yeah.
They're Canada's big hope to finally bring a cup home, yada, yada. They lost game 6, like all the stuff that was going on with their goalies, and, like playing bad on the road. So yeah, same kind of messaging, like this game's ours. Like we've got it. Like,
we saw that you had told the boys going into game 6, you were like, hey, I know how shitty that feeling was when we lost game 6 in Calgary. That's what we're going to give them. That must have been so motivating for the rest of the guys in the locker room, like being like, yeah, you're right. Cause you're right, man. That the doubt, it's like you said, you're human beings. There's no doubt about it. It does start to seep in, and to give them that feeling of doubt as fans, we could see it. It felt like you guys were the underdogs that whole series, and you just kept punching back and winning game 6. Even going into Vancouver, we were like, they're going to fucking win.
Yeah.
This is unreal.
Did you guys have that attitude in the locker room a bit of kind of, because I forget what, it was a couple years ago, Chara gave that interview about kind of like saying you guys had seen the Canucks celebrating, and then Kate and Bieksa was like, we weren't doing that. But was there a bit of a bulletin board material, rah thing going on in the locker room of like, listen, guys, we can bully them.
Yeah.
We can beat them around. They think they've got this. Was that the messaging big time for you guys?
I mean, our group, like, and we knew it, like I don't think it was any secret to anybody with half a brain, but like we needed emotion. Like that team needed like fuel to be on the fire. Right. And like, so the best thing any opposing team could have done was like not respond. Right. Or not like add, don't throw stuff on the fire. And so like the biting, cheap shots and like the chirping and all that kind of stuff, like that was like catnip to us. Like we loved it. and if the other team didn't provide it, like we would just produce it, somebody would say something just to like a little arsonist, like just trying to keep the fire burning hot, right? So I don't think like I didn't see them like practicing holding the cup and stuff like that. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but
if we believe they did, then it fires me up.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody made it up to like just fire the boys up.
Exactly. That's why Z's the captain, dude. The boys needed a push. He makes up a story. Next thing you know, they win the cup, dude. That's how it goes.
We had like a bunch of guys that were just like professional pot stirrers. It's like the guy at the bar, right? Like, you know what that guy said about you? Like just
right, exactly. Starts the line goal.
So real, so real.
And then, Fair, we heard that you had a cool comment about how once you guys scored that empty netter, it was like, all right, we're actually going to do this, and you get to soak in that last minute of the game, really, of like, we are going to win the cup. And then I'm pretty sure, were the last guy to get it that summer. So you had a ton of time to plan it. I died at a joke you told that you said you spent more time planning your cup day than your wedding, which is amazing.
Yeah, way more.
So can you tell everybody what that day with the cup was like? Because it's pretty epic what you guys pulled off in Boston there.
Yeah, well, the end of the game was insane. So I don't know, like being a good hockey player, and especially in playoffs, like if you give tips to like young kids, it's like, here's a good tip to be like a good hockey player in playoffs, but it's not like a good tip for life. Like, you kind of have to separate the two. And I think like Marshy touched on it, I think was it last year or something like that. He's like, no, like you're trying to hurt people and you're trying to like do stuff that's not right. Like, and you're trying to, and you are, and also you're trying to like completely bury your emotions. Like you're basically becoming like emotionless, good and bad, right? Like you lose a game, like, oh, who cares? You win a game, all right, next game. Like, and so you're really turning off like your reactions to things, and you become just like steady and just like tough. I guess I don't know what you maybe I don't know what the right word is. But anyways, it's not healthy to do for.
You got to shut it off once playoffs start.
Yeah, but like that. But that's a thing, right? Like when that empty net goes in, like up until that point, it's like playoff mode. Like, no, they could come back. Like next shift is the most important shift. Like
you're a robot,
and you're just go until that happened. There's a couple minutes left in the game, and I think at that point, there's just like it's like the clouds parted and like the sun came in. You're like, oh, like, wow, like this is actually happening. Like this is real life, and those last couple minutes were just magical, man. Like, seeing everybody on the bench, like, kind of have that realization and come out of like this battle mode of just being in the fight. And yeah, like, oh my God, like everything that I dreamed about, like those sleepless nights, like this is the thing, like this is happening. And it was truly the most, probably the best couple minutes of my life. Like, it was just
so awesome,
incredible. Like it's everything you kind of expected to be. It goes by quick, you know. The time on the ice when you actually get to touch the cup and lift it, like it's like the snap of the fingers and it's done. Like, in retrospect, I should have done like 5 laps.
Dude, I always say that people
like,
should lap more. Yeah,
screw it. Like, do more. Like, just do more. Be the guy. But yeah, it goes by real quick, and we got hustled out of there pretty quick because of the riots. Like, the cops came down to the room.
Yeah, the city was burned.
You know, we were doing like the celebration in the room and you know, champagne and all that stuff, and we had our fill anyways. Like, it's not like we needed more. But the cops came down. They're like, "Yo, the city is burned down. Like, if you guys want an escort, like, let's go, because these people know where the bus is parked." Like, so like, you guys got to go. So we actually hustled out of the room pretty quick and hopped on the charter back to Boston. Landed at rush hour. You know, they shut down the highway. We drove in. Did the thing with the cup for a few days, which was amazing. My day with
bar tab,
decent bar tab, eh?
Yeah, the bar tab was a bit misleading. Like, the casino dude, whoever owned it, like, bought that stupid champagne bottle that was so expensive. I don't know who actually buys
big as
that
Marshy.
Yeah, but it was a fun night though. It was pretty good. We threw out first pitch at Fenway. Like, it's just amazing. Like I said, everything you ever dream of it being.
Truly.
And then I was lucky. I got the last. I think I was the last player to get my day with the cup, and I had it in Boston. So my kids were both in school at the time. Like I said, I lived in a pretty amazing neighborhood, the North End, and knew everybody. And I was like, all right, like, I could go home, which I love my home, like, it's great, but like, I moved away when I was 16. You know, like, all my buddies, like, that I grew up with were kind of all gone. Like, I didn't really know anybody there. So it's like, I could go to my hometown and kind of like do the thing, or like I could bring it to like where my home is. Like, this is my home. So I had it in Boston, took to the kids' school, went to like a Spalding rehab, which is a hospital like close to their school, which is an amazing place. They do a lot of rehabilitation for people. And then I went through the neighborhood, took to like all the businesses that, you know, like basically did a lap of all the businesses, had an Italian parade. You know, I don't know if you guys have been to Little Italy, but like in the summer,
all the time, man.
Yeah, like all the Saints parades. So we had a Saint Stanley parade with the Italian band and everything, and you know, took it all the businesses, you know, so the guys could, you know, get pictures with the cup out in front, and then just had a good old party. It was awesome.
It's incredible. It looks like the actual cup parade. It's so awesome. Yeah,
it is so awesome.
Yeah, if you ever go to Paul Carey's, so like if you're in Boston, you guys know Boston pretty well. You're right.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, so Paul Carey's down in the North End is my favorite coffee shop. So Bobby, who runs Paul Carey's, I go see him every time, still to this day. But yeah, he's got a wicked picture up in Paul Carey's of that day
nice.
Of his shop, and it's just like a Where's Waldo, like down the entire street. And then the cups, like, you know, right in the middle. And it's just, it was amazing.
We got to go see that.
Yeah,
next time we're there. Yeah, seriously. It's amazing.
Yeah, he'll give you a good cup of coffee, too. Feel free to
yeah, there you go. To flash forward towards the end of your career, as we said, you finished off your career playing for your hometown team with the Oilers. And, again, as a fan, for watching us, it was really cool, you know, watching you lift the cup in Boston. Then when you leave the team, to see you go back to Edmonton was really cool. And then not to mention you're named the 14th captain in franchise history. In that moment, was there a part of you that felt like, I wasn't on Central Scouting and now here I am captaining my hometown team? Like, what an unbelievable bookending to your career. And what was it like? Just like, you know, putting on that sweater, buzzing around in your hometown. You get to see the beginning of McDavid and Leon's career, just about as good as a bookending as you could ask for.
That, man, like you have to believe me. Like I said at the beginning, like it never got old. Like it never got old.
I love that so much.
Every day, man, you walk in, you're like, Jesus, like this is insane. Like I remember one day, like we're still in the old building, right? Like and so, like I said, I went down to that old dressing room with Peter Klima, like when I was a kid. And so like,
Yeah.
I'm walking around and I'm like I've been here before, like as a kid, like it's just wild, right? Like to kind of do full circle and put the jersey on and walk out of it and then look up at where you used to sit. It's just such a trip, right? And after one of the games, like Messier and Gretzky were both in the room. I have a picture with them, like in the locker room, and I'm like, this is not real. This is wild. So yeah, it never got old. It was just like, yeah, we didn't have great teams, and there was plenty of frustration and stuff like that. But it was always such an honor, like to play for your hometown, to be part of the Oilers. I grew up, like I said, during the days where Glenn Sather was the GM, and I clearly remember, like, one of my favorite players was Randy Gregg, because he was a doctor. My mom was a doctor, so Dr. Randy Gregg, which just blows my mind that he played in the NHL and he's a doctor. What, like? but I remember getting like the programs at Oilers games when I was a kid, and Glenn Sather made it like a thing where every guy on the team had to do something in the community. Like, you had to be part of a board, and you had to be like part of something bigger in the community. So, guys picked their causes, right? And so, like, to me, that was always a big part of like being a hockey player, but also being an Oiler. So yeah, diving into the community and kind of doing all the things and trying to be as positive as you can. Even if you're losing games, try to use your position as an Oiler to do good, represent the team well. And yeah, it was a great few years, man. Like, as many losses as I racked up, like I had made so many friends outside of the rink as well, and in the community, and I think did a lot of good things and set a good example. And maybe it was a longer tail, but I think installing some of those values and leading by example with like some of those things. And like, Connor's a great guy, and Leon as well, but like, I think just showing those guys too, like, this is like, it's about more than just being in the show, and like, yeah, you got to do things right and practice hard and do all this. Like, it's little simple things, but you'd hope that like there's even just like a smidgen of like lessons and things that you kind of pass down to that next group.
Dude, there is. Someday they will be retired and be doing a podcast like this, and they will tell the stories that you were telling about those early Pittsburgh days of like, these were the veterans on those Oilers teams when I was 18 years old who showed me what it was like to be a professional. And I think that's awesome that was you.
Can I tell you a funny story about Leon?
Yes.
Darnell. So like, I was captain, and so they asked me to come out to the rookie camp in Jasper. They had all the rookies, like, and they're going to do a thing and go on the ice and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, can you come out to Jasper and talk to the guys? We'll set up like a dinner or something like that. You can talk to the guys. And I was like, to be honest with you, like, that sounds like terrible. Like, that sounds like, I don't know, like, if I'm a rookie, like, I don't know, like, do I want to just hear me kind of drone on about whatever? And also, like, for me, like, I want to just go talk to a bunch of rookies, like and get on a soapbox. And I was like, how about, like, can you let me have some fun with the guys? And like, I have an idea about, just seeing who's kind of, got what it takes. And so I had this grand idea. I had some really good friends, actually a guy from Boston, Lucas Carr, he's a former Army Ranger. And so he's a real badass. Like, this guy's a badass. And then a couple of buddies I had in the Canadian military as well from Edmonton. So I was like, would you let me bring Lucas up from Boston and work with these couple guys from the Canadian military? And I want to set up like a little excursion where we basically like kidnap the rookies and take them out and like run them through some stuff that the Army guys do. And then like have an overnight, like, out in the wilderness. Like, just like, can you just let me throw the rookies into a situation that's kind of messed up and just see how they react? Like, because I want to, be able to then tell you guys and like have the Army guys like point out like, these are the players that are going to be like, these are the guys that
these are gamers. Yeah.
I want to see who bitches and who's like, let's do it. Because I think that's really the separation. Like, everybody's good in the NHL. Like, everybody is. Like, everybody's got talent, everybody's got, potential, whatever it is. But like, the guys that you want on your team are the guys that are thrown into weird situations and they're like, let's go. And then the guys you want to get rid of are the guys who are like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we doing like, and so to the Oilers' credit, they're like, yeah, sure. Like, do whatever you want. And so
I know.
I spent like a month. I like had to get like sleeping bags. I was like, how many guys are there? It was like 40. I was like, or 30, whatever. So I had to get all these sleeping bags like rented. Planning with the army guys about like doing all these like drills and stuff like that. I had to like.
So you also spent more time
parts.
planning this than your wedding
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Totally. We had to like get permission to use this land in Jasper, like to like camp and like do these army things. And so essentially how it worked out is we rolled up in like a couple of vans, and these army guys know how to make these like little homemade like prank bombs out of like water bottles. So they put like little heating packets in the water bottles, and they're like throwing these things and like bang, bang, bang. And so they're throwing these things, and we basically kidnap these rookies, throw them into a van. They have no clue what's going on. Like they have no introduction. They just know it's like a team outing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we basically kidnap like this group of rookies, take them into the woods. They're running through like evacuation drills, like playing basically like capture the flag stuff, like doing army shit, and like with no real context. And then after we kind of run through all the drills and stuff like that, then we sit around a campfire and we have dinner, which the army guys provided. And it was like MREs, like they're, you know, the MR, like the meals that like a bag. So just this crappy meals. So we're all sitting around a campfire eating this like terrible army food. And then they start talking, right? Like the army guys start telling stories. And like a couple of them were like, yeah, we're on a sniper team. We're in Afghanistan. I lived on the side of a mountain for 2 months doing recon. And I ate chicken with Tabasco sauce for 2 months, every single meal. And like, you know, like they're running through their experiences, or like, you know, ranger training, like living in a swamp and getting foot rot and doing all this stuff. And like, so they're just like telling all these badass stories, and like, it's pretty cool. And my point to like the rookies was like, look, like you guys are rookies. You're all super excited to be in the league. Like the first year you make the team, you'll all be excited. But I said, I guarantee you, like at some point in your career, like it'll either be you, or like you'll have a teammate that will be at the Four Seasons, and you'll be at a buffet lineup, and you'll be complaining about the dry salmon. Like,
Yeah.
And F you if that's you. Like, honestly, like screw you. Like, and so it was about that perspective of like, don't lose perspective. Like, this is an insane opportunity. It's an incredible job, an incredible lifestyle. Like, never take it for granted. Like, and so anyways, long story, the two guys that were identified, and like these army guys aren't like hockey nerds, but they said like both Leon and Darnell, they're like, those are guys. Like in our drills and the stuff that we're doing, they're like, those two guys are like standouts. And like Leon was like all in, like just let's go, like German badass. Like,
I was gonna say, I love like this. The German kid was like, "Bring it on, bitch!"
Dude, he's like
biting
the head off lizards, and they're like, "Dude, there's food coming, Leon." Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So whenever Leon's on it, you can ask him about the army day and stuff like that. But like stuff like that, like I don't know. There's so many like old school traditions and ways of doing things, and like maybe it's not perfect, or maybe it's not like totally well thought out, but like I love just the curveball shit, you know, like stuff that's just out of left field, you know, just let's try it. Like, let's see what happens, and like see how people react, and see if this works. And if it doesn't, like, that's fine too. Like, but whatever. Like, I love like the fact of like being in a position to try stuff like that and just see what people got.
It's the best.
That's awesome.
God, it's the best.
There, you had another quote that made us laugh really hard, which, because having talked to a lot of guys in the league now, so many of them disagree with you. But you said the thought of playing golf
probably
every
on
day.
A lot of things, man. Sorry, you repeat it. 'Cause
Yeah. You said the thought of playing golf every day after I retire is my idea of hell.
Oh, it is, man.
Which I love. But dude, and it's honestly, it started even while you were playing, when you were a huge part of the initiative to go carbon neutral for the teams, the NHL teams traveling. But since then, man, you have done so much across the game, the world. You helped start the November Project, Children's Wish, supporting the Pride Initiative, the NHL Street Program, NHL Director of Social Impact, Director of Youth Strategy, the 2014 King Clancy Memorial Trophy winner. You got straight A's in sustainability at Harvard, man. So the wealth of knowledge that you've accrued and the impact you've made post-playing has been so cool to see. What has all that meant to you, and how excited are you with all the changes that are being made already?
Well, like, honestly, man, like I said, like, if you don't lose the perspective of like the opportunity you have, like it's not fair. Like just because I played hockey, I was good at a sport, I had like so much opportunity to like meet people, do things, get invited to things. Like you have privilege like that's beyond what's probably appropriate. But like, I don't know, like when you have that, like you can either use it for good or bad, like, like so you might as well use it for good. And so I think that's kind of was always the way I looked at it. Like, man, this is awesome, man. Like we could do a lot of cool stuff and like good things for other people. And selfishly, like how fun is that, man, to like just live out life and like do cool shit, meet good people, learn things, be curious. Like, I don't know, like I have so many friends outside of the game that, you know, have nothing to do with hockey. Like being able to have diverse interests and like a diverse friend group that are just, I don't know, it just mixes your life up a bit. And I don't know, I want to be an old person that looks back and like, yeah, like just has fun stories and fun memories and like, oh yeah, like you just kind of this tangled web of life and like all these different kind of paths that you just kind of open up doors to, you know, through curiosity. So that was another thing I told the guys, like at the U18 tournament this past weekend, right? Like I got up and I was like, never lose your curiosity. Like I see it in hockey, like, and I see it in youth hockey, to be honest. Like if all you do is play hockey all year long, like you're playing spring hockey, summer hockey, winter hockey, and all your friends are hockey players, and like all you do is watch the Empty Netters podcast, like, like God, like mix it up, man. Like you gotta mix it up. Like it's not healthy. Like you gotta do other shit. You gotta have other interests, and like it'll actually make you a better hockey player. Like like being like Kovalev and like having like, man, I'm gonna go learn how to fly a plane. And then I'm going to learn how to fly a helicopter, and then I'm going to open a business or whatever it is. Like you got to have other stuff that's going on in your life to like balance you out and to make sure that you're just a more well-rounded human being. But like, if you live and die by hockey, like you're just going to be an emotional mess. And like, and then what happens when hockey's done? You're miserable on a golf course. And then you just play golf. And like,
you're much worse at golf than you were at hockey. So it's actually really bad now.
Yeah. And then you live in hell, literally down in Palm Springs or something. I don't know. It sounds terrible. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Has it been cool to find these roles within the league too? Like you've always wanted to do this stuff, but now you're having it in actual director roles within the NHL. Has that been an added bonus for you?
Listen up right now. If you are a beer leaguer right now, if you're anyone playing hockey, and if you just like hockey jerseys and you want your own custom sweater, there is only one site to use.
This is the easiest plug I've ever given in my life. We have been playing beer league for years now at multiple cities, at multiple rinks for multiple teams. The one constant is everybody has a men's league sweater jersey because it is the best jersey for beer leaguers everywhere.
It's not even close. They are the best quality. They're fast and they're easy. I've also seen some of the most complex designs ever on these jerseys, and they look professional grade every single time.
You can get so creative. The team names we see, we do a post every month of the most amazing jerseys. Everything looks perfect. It's made so simple for you. It's not a hassle. Everybody, that's always the biggest pain, the biggest lift. Oh, we want new jerseys, but it's such an annoying ordeal to do it. Not here. They make it simple. You're going to get an incredible sweater back, and you're going to get it right away.
Listen, we've used this so many times. Our beer league team out here in LA, we have men's league sweaters. When we did the Chicklets Cup, we did men's league sweaters. When we just went up to Vail to play the Vail Yeti, we did men's league sweaters, and they always come out unbelievable. So if you need to fit your team with some new jerseys, you want them quick and you want them quality, go to mensleaguesweaters.com/netters, and you're going to save an average of $500. They're going to get you and your team set up, and you're going to be looking crisp. And that's what we always say. You look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got to know a lot of people at the NHL, unfortunately, through collective bargaining, like, you know, going through two lockouts, being part of the union. I was always a union guy. And so you're doing the work and you're in these tough negotiations and stuff like that. But you get to know the people on the other side, doing the carbon neutral stuff. I got to know through the creation of NHL Green a few of the colleagues that I have now at the NHL. You get to know them as people. And so that was always kind of on my radar, is like, man, these are actually great people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
NHL is pretty awesome. And so it was, I was lucky, I could see the horizon on my career and kind of plan it out a little bit better than probably a lot of guys. So yeah, go back to school, get a little bit of education on the bones, make sure that I'm kind of tidied up there. but jumping into a role where, I could do social impact. I could get involved in some of the green, NHL green work. I had the creativity to say like, hey, we should really have a street program and, try to develop NHL street and do stuff like that. And same thing now. I'm like, how do I try to influence, the fun aspects of hockey and really wrapping around, our aspect around like, how do we support house league hockey? How do we support rec? How do we create future beer leaguers instead of future NHLers? Because really like that should be our focus for everybody. Like there will be guys that make the NHL. Like that's awesome. And everybody should, like, if you have a dream to make the NHL, like you 100% should, but like, we shouldn't do it at the expense of like burning people out and like creating like anxiety hockey, like where everybody's just like stressed and spending tons of money and super anxious. And then they get to a certain age and they, don't like hockey anymore. And then they don't play beer league when they're older because they're just like burnt out or they just, have bad memories of the sport or whatever it is. Like we really need to develop more of that fun aspect of hockey and create like the future beer leaguers. Like
I love it.
That's kind of how I look at my work is like, how do I throw like ammunition into that pile and make sure that part of hockey is thriving, because we don't want to lose it. We can't take it for granted,
Correct.
No, absolutely. It's like we just need more of that mindset across the league and across media, everything. It's amazing.
What are we doing? It's got to be fun. Like it's
exactly.
Like,
yes.
Like that's been our whole thing. It's
doing?
like it's the most fun game in the world. It should be fun, all encompassing. We're gonna close you out, Ference, with a game that we play with everybody. It's called Pass, Shoot, Score. Basically, it's a ranking system. So we're gonna give you 3 things that we know that you really love, and you've got to rank them. Pass, shoot, score. Pass is going to be 3rd place because, passing the puck's great, but shooting's a little bit better because then you get to give the bird to everybody. And then scoring is obviously the ultimate goal. So Chris is going to start you off with your first pass, shoot, score.
Okay, your first category is boarding. So pass, shoot, score, skateboarding, snowboarding, wakeboarding.
Pass on the wakeboard.
Wow.
Shoot on the skateboard and score on the snowboard.
Nice.
Is it tough, though, that your wife is way better than you at snowboarding?
No, because I'm divorced now.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go.
So good. So good.
So that's easy, man.
Easy. Were you out on the wakeboard with the girls, though? I thought I saw a sick video of you out there doing some tricks.
You know what? The reason the wakeboard was so easy to pass on is because we all do the wake surfing now.
Oh, okay.
Good. Okay.
So that's better. Would that be your favorite?
So much better.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
That's
cool. Wake surfing is
wake
sick.
surfing.
Yeah.
Did you ever give a shot at like actual surfing?
Oh yeah. I went. I've been to Brazil a couple times, surfing down there, down in Hawaii a bunch.
Amazing.
Like, yeah, man, I'm terrible, but like I'm a gamer.
Yeah,
like,
it is fun as hell.
I am totally the dude thrashing around in the water, like
it's so awesome.
Yeah. But I'm capable.
Yeah, there you go. Have you hit the slopes yet this year?
No, man. That's the only problem about living out here is it's too nice. Like
I know.
Yeah. Dude, we got to get you to come south. Snow. Come south and meet us in Mammoth in California.
Yeah.
It's elite. Place is unreal.
All right, I can be convinced. Yeah,
there you go. That's an easy sell.
Yeah.
It's an easy sell.
Yeah.
All right, your next category. I'm very excited about this one, but I do have a bone to pick with you. Next one is Arsenal. I know you're a Gunners fan.
Yeah.
Pass, shoot, score. Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, Bukayo Saka.
Oh man. Well, I got to score with Henry. I mean,
yes. Well done.
Which I guess I'll shoot with Vieira.
I think.
Yeah, I'll shoot with Vieira.
I think that's right.
Well done.
How'd you end up a Gunners fan?
Well, because of Johan Hedberg, and so Johan Hedberg was my roommate, and you should have included Freddie Ljungberg in there because
I should have.
Yeah.
You know, I was debating. I was like, who do I put in here? Because I thought about Bergkamp, I thought about Anelka, I thought about Ozil. Like there was a lot that I could have done.
Yeah, I mean they had some good years, but Freddie Ljungberg might have been him and Henry would have been tough just because Freddie was so cool. He was so cool, and Johan Hedberg loved Freddie Ljungberg. So we watched Arsenal all the time in that crappy Holiday Inn
Yep.
Yeah,
that
there you
we
go.
lived in. And then and obviously those were some pretty easy years to love Arsenal.
True.
God.
Have you been to the Emirates? Have you gotten to London for a game?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you.
I actually got a jersey from Rosicky too. We exchanged
Oh, yeah.
jerseys. Yeah.
Man, he was nasty. Well, after that World Cup, he lit the world on fire and then signed with you guys. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
So, like, we're Chelsea fans. I am sorry to say. But
That's
there
all
have been
right,
some.
man. I've been to Chelsea. I went and watched the Champions League game there.
There you go.
wow,
dude.
sick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Oh man, I can't remember who they played. I have to go back in my memory. They won though.
Yeah.
There you go. All I care about. Yeah, the
take
bridge. I love the bridge. The bridge is
take
such a
that.
sick place.
Oh, I can't remember. God, my memory is bad.
You'll remember. You can just let us know.
Yeah.
I've done too much. I did too much cool stuff.
Okay, fair. Your next category is creative expression. So pass, shoot, score, your tattoos, your baking, or your gardening.
Oh man, that's hard. Oh man, I think I'll pass on the tattoos. I'll shoot with the baking and I'll score with the gardening.
Wow, I thought I was going to get baking, dude.
My guy, dude. I'm a huge gardener. Are you getting into the vegetable gardening?
Oh, dude, you should see his setup.
Man.
Yeah, it's the best.
Like the vegetables, I got fruit trees, I got everything. I got bees. I spend a lot of time in my garden, man. Like I've had. The funny thing about my mom was a big gardener. My parents both grew up on farms, Alberta, like Trochu and Elk Point. So they're both all from farm families, and my mom had a big garden growing up. It was my job to tend the compost pile, like when I was a kid and all that stuff. So I've had these compost worms for literally 20 years, like the same ones, and I've taken them from like Boston to Calgary.
Yeah, they've moved. They've been everywhere.
They literally come. I still have them. They're downstairs.
They've been traded too.
Yeah.
So I'm full on into composting, gardening, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got a big ass garden. It's awesome, man. I spend a lot of time out there.
What's the newest
it's
addition?
So fulfilling.
Yeah, it's incredible, dude.
I do some good hot peppers out here, like really good hot
nice.
peppers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I
love that.
did Ghost last year. They were hot, man. They were like,
Yeah,
they're something else. But like the staples, I do like my carrots and beans and peas.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. But,
and then I heard you make some elite crepes. Is that true?
yeah, the crepes are elite, and my sourdough. Like if I take gifts, like Christmas time, I was a busy man because I give a lot of sourdough.
Loaf after loaf after loaf.
Oh, it's just a perfect
It's good,
gift.
man. Yeah, like you don't want to pat yourself too hard with some of that kind of stuff, but I can pat myself pretty good because it gets pretty good. And the tattoos, I guess I pass you, right? Because anybody can get a tattoo. Like,
Yeah. You got some cool ones though. The
I
Michelangelo
agree.
stuff is pretty sick up the arm there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's not me. That's the artist. Like,
You're right. Fair enough.
Scott Ford, he's my Calgary guy. He's the guy I flew down to Boston after we won to tattoo the guys.
To do the cup one. Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, that's who misspelled Marchand's.
Yeah.
Wait, is it actually?
Yeah. It's like
That's incredible.
He
What a full
misspelled
circle moment.
champions, I think, or something like that.
With an A.
Yeah, champions, dude. Champions. So good.
Yeah. But he knows how to draw Michelangelo, so I got to give him a pass on the spelling.
Yeah. No letters in that one. It's way better. All right, now, Ference, your last one is going to be your workouts. Pass, shoot, score, biking, and that's going to count road biking and your battle bike insanity.
All right.
Pelvic floor deep core training,
Oh, yes.
and pulling sandbags.
Okay, pass on the sandbags.
Okay.
Oh, man. I'll say shoot on the biking and score with the pelvic floor.
Wow.
So for anybody that doesn't know the pelvic floor stuff, like that might sound weird, but it's like my career changed. I had a hernia surgery like early on when I was in Pittsburgh, and I did my rehab up in Whistler, BC with this physio. It was like awesome. And her big thing was like, man, you got to develop your core. Like you got to strengthen your deep core muscles and your pelvic floor muscles. So I was basically doing Kegel exercises. And so everybody's probably heard of Kegel, but like some people don't know what that is. So when I explain it to the kids at school, like when we're doing off ice and all that stuff, like it always gets a chuckle, but I'm like, the way it was explained to me is if you can imagine yourself taking a pee, like say you're in the doctor's office and you have to like fill up the cup, so you're taking a pee and then you have to use that muscle to stop peeing. Like everybody knows what that is. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So like that's what firing your core is, right? So like I was doing that for my rehab to like rebuild my core after surgery. And then she's like, no, like you do it all the time. Like when you're doing squats, when you're sprinting, when you're doing bench, when you're doing pull-ups, when you're doing abs, like you're firing that muscle all the time. So any like the rotational stuff, so I spent my whole career doing like the pelvic floor and like the core work. And like I hardly lifted weights. Like I was always super fit and strong, but like I didn't lift many weights like my whole career. But I did a lot of like core work and like body weight stuff and all that. And man, like biking is obviously helpful for VO2 and like power and stuff like that. But my career was probably built on like strong core. Like you can be a small guy.
On stopping being able to pee. Yeah.
You know what's great right now is that everyone listening to this is doing Kegels right now.
Yes.
I guarantee you that.
I'm telling you, it literally will change your life. Like if you want to like prove it, like you try to go balance, like stand on one foot or like do some kind of balance exercise, and then like actively like fire that muscle and like contract it and hold it. And even your balance is like it makes you better, man. It's like, it's insane. And so when you're a small guy and you're like hitting guys that are like 6'5" and you're like, oh, how are you so strong? It's like, dude, because I'm firing that muscle. I got a strong core.
It's because my pelvic floor is fucking jacked.
Yeah, man. Like it's just like, but it makes a difference. Like, shit's not a joke. Like it's for real. So yeah, that's my score.
I love that so much.
Dude, that is so epic.
All right, Ference, so that's our last pass shoot score. We can't thank you enough for hopping on, but before we let you go, is there anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to plug?
Man, just do your good things. You guys are fun to talk to, and like I just like you said, like I'm like a bit of a different guy sometimes. I don't necessarily fit the mold, but I think like celebrate that. Like I said, for young guys, people that watch this, or listen to you guys, like it's good to be a little bit different. You got to be a team player, and you got to understand like when it's time to be part of the team, but like be yourself, man. Like you gotta do your own stuff. And especially if you want to make it, or if you have big dreams, like if you're just doing everything that everybody else is doing, like you're the definition of average, right? And like average doesn't make it, so like embrace the stuff that's a little weird and stuff that's like a little out of the box and stuff that nobody else is doing. And like, you just got to be your own person. So I'm glad that you guys like talking about that kind of stuff. And
absolutely, man. It's the
fun.
best.
It's cool.
It's amazing. Wow. What a guy, what a day, what a time to be alive, Dan.
If it is the last thing I do, it will be getting him to come down to Mammoth and go skiing with us.
I want to snowboard. Well, he'll board, I'll ski.
Yeah.
You'll ski. I want to hang with him on the slopes so badly.
I can't express enough how much fun I had with that, and I hope you all did too. And I genuinely feel moved and touched by the message that he gave to everyone playing hockey at the end there. It's like, don't think you need to just be a hockey person. Enjoy your other hobbies. Enjoy the things that make you tick, and don't be afraid to wave the flag. Because
absolutely right.
It's just the best. Huge thank you to Andrew Ference. We've got to have him on again. I mean, that was about as fun as it gets. And man, just like I want to be a better person.
Same.
Unbelievable. So that's it for us today at the Empty Nerds Podcast. Hope you enjoyed that. We will see you later this week for some more fun and games. And until then,
skate hard.